Hey, thanks, Josiah. I appreciate that. Um, I am a do work for Synchronous Solutions, but I was an ActionFlow user for many, many years. And so the way I look at this topic of organizing your shop with ActionFlow, I look at it more as a user and how I did it, what I liked, what I found helpful, those types of things. And that's really what the way I'm approaching this today is as a user, what did I like for being able to help us gain some clarity into what was going on, where were the jobs at in the shop, were they at the right place at the right time, were they behind, were they ahead, all of those kinds of questions as a production guy and an operations guy. um, we had questions around that, and Action Flow and the tools in Action Flow really helped us gain some clarity and was able to shine light into those areas. And so that's kind of the way I want to approach this topic today, is maybe a little bit more from your guys' view, the user's view, and the things that I think will help most. Some of the things I want to go over um, is kind of some of these, where's my job? And how do we add clarity to that? Whenever I would get asked this question of where is my job, it almost always would strike terror in my heart. I didn't know if you were asking that because now that I've released the job into the shop, are you looking to change something? Do you want to change a detail, a different sink, something else? Why are you asking me this question? And of course, a lot of people have this question. It could come from your salespeople, comes from people out in your production department. Management asks these questions, finance is asking about these things, and so are owners. And whenever you get asked a question over and over and over again, it's telling you, hey, within our organization, we have a dark spot here. We are dealing with something here that is not easily or readily known. And if it is, people don't know where to find it. And so it's the same as not being known. And so if you take that question of where is my job, look at it as an opportunity to be able to share that information to the rest of the organization, so that you can let everybody know that, and you don't get asked the question. You're better able to provide customer service in a quicker time frame. All of those kind of things. And as we look at this issue of where is my job and how do we organize a shop, I kind of want to start from the 20,000-foot view and work our way down more and more granular. And it's one of the things that I really like about ActionFlow is you're able to go from the high level view and get more and more granular with it. That starts just with the job status. The job status gives you some clarity as to what's going on with the job and where it is. These job statuses are hard coded in ActionFlow. These are the ones that are used. And as you know, those job status go from created to accepted to templated to partially fabbed to fabricated, partial installed, invoiced, and paid. Each of those status, as you understand what that status means, does give you some insight as to what's going on with the job, obviously. And the ones that you're probably dealing with from a shop perspective, or with the jobs that are in that time frame between template and install, you're going to be looking a lot at a partial fabbed or a fabricated job status. Partially fabricated is defined usually when the saw action is done. When that's completed, that updates that job status to take it from templated and changes that to a partially fabbed job status. That partially fabbed job status tells everybody that that job's actively being worked on in the shop. The material, the inventory that we have allocated to that job has now been used and cut up, so it can't be converted into or changed to somebody else's job or used or resold or any of that. It's now been cut. And when we're done in the shop, and it's usually your polish or your QC action, when that is done, that will update that job status again into a fabricated job status. So everybody knows it's done in the shop, it's just waiting for install. That partially fabbed job status lets everybody know where it's at, but it's also an important identifier for a financial report that your financial team may be looking for and asking about or wondering about. And I'll get into that, but that's that WIP report. If you've ever been asked for a WIP report or a work in process report, that's your financial department looking for evaluation of the inventory that is being actively worked on, that is in the shop in production. It's a snapshot view of the jobs that are being worked on and the valuation of that inventory. That's what that WIP report is. And of course, if it's fabricated and not installed, that's a finished goods inventory report where that's waiting to be converted into a job and being able to invoice and collect payment on. So your financial teams may be looking for some of that information and why those job statuses are particularly important, and they drive a lot of information from the top view down. As we get a little more granular and you start looking into the shop and being able to track jobs specifically through the shop, we should be looking to have actions that correlate to every area of your shop. Now, these are some of the most common and the obvious ones of a saw, a CNC action, a miter or a fabrication, lamination type tab, your polish and your splash, and then your QC and load. But this can be specifically tailored for your shop. And every area of your shop can have its own action associated for it. And if it has its own action associated for it here, you can also have it in a calendar view so that you can have a calendar view of the jobs that need to be done on that area for each of those areas. Now, this is showing job specific, but I would also recommend that you do these for all your job critical path items from kind of that post template through install. If your organization, after a job is templated, goes in and does a template review or a CAD review, if you're sending out for approvals, if you're looking for those approvals out for tool pathing, engineering, any of those type of steps that are job critical for you, I would recommend having those actions as well. And you can have the same things available to those people with that calendar view, and you can customize it and for the steps that your organization use and the vernacular that you use can be changed. If you call a department something specific, use your vernacular in it. But this allows you to get far more granular than just the job status. As your people get used to completing things, you can, on your calendar views, you can see them fall off the calendar views because they're completed, and you can see exactly where it's at in the shop. But we can get even more granular with this in the decisions that we allow at each of those actions. If you have just a complete, it's one set of information. It tells everybody that job is done on the saw. But if we add a decision where we could try to capture the problems that are going on in the shop, where we have maybe just a problem or a problem that also requires new material, there's a couple other steps that have to happen in those areas. You know, if it's just a problem, maybe we're notifying the shop manager or whoever that there's an issue over on the CNC and take a look at it. And then we could prompt whoever in our organization is doing it, but we could prompt them into that issues category and reporting reasons report where we capture what's going on. What are the mistakes that are happening? What are the problems that are happening? And this is a good way to prompt those things and build that right into your set of actions and your workflows so that you can immediately then capture it. Oh, hey, we got a problem. Okay, we're going to notify the shop manager and let's capture that incident. And if it's one that requires new material, let's also capture the cost of that new material. Let's get a little more defined with what's going on with that. And using this decisions area of your actions allows you to get far more information over whether it's just done or undone. This job issues, the issues category and reasons tracking report is such a strong tool for a shop because it allows you to capture what's going on. And as you look at that report and analyze that report, you can see what issues your organization is facing, how often are you facing it. And as you're looking at that, then you say, hey, we've got this issue going on. Let's see if we can come up with something to try to affect it. Come up with a plan. We're going to do this to see if we can solve the issue. Run that solution or that experiment to see if you can fix it for a set period of time, and then reevaluate. Are we still having the issue? Do we need to do something different? Did we not get any movement on it? You can use this report and monitoring this report so that you can drive improvement in your shop or in other areas of your organization. People tend to overestimate what can be done in the short term and underestimate what can be done in the long term. And so over time, as you work this process and you look at these problems that you're having and that you're able to gather through ActionFlow, over time you can significantly reduce the amount of times you're dealing with problems. You may not drive it all the way down to zero, but you can significantly improve it. And that is beneficial for everybody. It's beneficial for the employees. They're not getting frustrated by redoing stuff and having these kind of problems. The organization gets more efficient and effective at dealing with issues and moving jobs through their shop. It's just a huge benefit to be able to track these problems that you're having and facing, both by incident and by cost. And ActionFlow allows you to do that. And I would recommend using the decision side of those actions to prompt gathering that information so that you can immediately gather it, track it, and have it available to the organization and have that available to you. And you can do that through all of the areas.
Quick. We've got a question. Maria, feel free to put it in the chat or unmute.
Okay, it's not letting me type, but my question is, can those decisions for the shop be done per area? Let's say the job has multiple areas like kitchen, bed 1, bed 2, bed 3. Can we make this doable per area?
I don't believe it's tracking issues by area. These are action specific. Are you trying? So give me an example of. I'm not quite sure I understand your question, Maria. Give me an example of what you're talking about.
So let's say I have the saw completed for the kitchen, but not for the bed.
No.
Oh,
so could I mark all just the kitchen completed and leave, the saw complete for the kitchen and all the other areas incompleted?
Oh, I see. So the problem piece gets identified out, the rest of it just goes through, right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes, area, yeah, the each area.
Yeah. So when you run this report and you have the issue, you would identify the exact piece that had the issue, so that information is forwarded on to your CAD department and everything else. They're not going to redo the entire kitchen or the whole job, but you could tell them exactly what piece had the issue, what piece needed to be redone. And that could be as a splash or a piece, but you can identify that. And so that then that just comes back through, just that one piece would come back through. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering throughout the
For
process.
example, I have
Hold on one second.
job A. Well, job A have a kitchen and 3 bathrooms, 4 areas. So could the kitchen, could the master, but bed 2 and bed 3 is broken. For example, I need remake. What the south is for every for that part.
So the question is like, let's say we have a kitchen and three bathrooms. Like it's all separated in 3 different areas.
Right.
For the same job, for whatever, just it's easier for us to identify what we're talking about. In our way to do with AF, can we when we send it to fabrication, and then we can mark the saw completed in the kitchen and the bathroom, first bathroom, and then the other 2 bathrooms are not completed, or the other 2 bathrooms need a remake.
Okay. I'm not quite sure I'm fully understanding the question.
I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can jump in here. So I think, like the actions that Chad is speaking to would be just job level actions. You wouldn't be able to complete these on an area specific level. We do have that option. We have what's called the fab scheduler, and that is where each job is broken it apart by area. But that would require scheduling, setting up that separate scheduler. So you could talk to your account manager about that and see if that may be an option. And that would be the fab scheduler.
Thank you.
Yeah, these are this is at the job level actions that I'm talking about. They're not the area ones. But you're right, Josiah. I should have thought of that. You do have the area fab scheduler that does allow you to break down the schedule into individual areas for that level of tracking, and that might be a good option for them depending on how they're doing that. So back to your individual job actions and the decisions associated with those drive a lot more clarity than just your job status, and allows for a lot more information gathering. There's another level of clarity that ActionFlow allows for, and I don't hear a lot of people using it or really talking about it, and it's one that I really liked and was part of implementing that first, and that's these hourly definitions. Hourly definitions, if you don't know what that is allows you to estimate time at each of your line items level of a job that allow you to predict the amount of time associated with these shop actions. And they will populate as you gather that data and input that data. They will populate on a calendar view, so that like what you see here, where it's 85 square feet and it's estimated to take 1.9 hours in order to cut that job. The same thing is true for your CNC. It will project that, and the calendar view, it does the same thing that the calendars views do with the square footage and the T dollars and those type of things, where it aggregates it at the top and then it breaks it down at the individual job level down at the calendar view. This is such a fantastic tool for being able to see how much work or how loaded you are pushing your shop. It just adds great clarity to it. There is some data gathering that is required in order to do it. There's some entering that data, in order to get it onto your calendars and stuff. But it provides such a beneficial tool to be able to see what you're projecting is going on in your shop at each of the areas. And as you know, and if you've worked with Synchronous Solutions or watched some of Rick's presentations in the previous webinars, there's one area of your shop that controls how everything flows through the shop. Every shop, every system has a constraint, and that constraint dictates how much work is going to be able to flow through that area, and that effectively regulates what's going to flow through the shop. So as you can gather information and clarity into where your constraint is and how much time you're projected to go through it, you're able to schedule at a whole new level. You can take advantage if there's not a lot going through the constraint at that particular time. You can back off, you can pull a job up or push it back by a day to try to level load the shop to its maximum flow rates. All of these types of things become much, much easier as you have these hourly definitions put in there so that you can effectively estimate what that time's going to be. It's such a great tool. It's not just available on the calendar view. It's in the job view, and you see it in next to those actions in the jobs, where you can see on this particular example, the saw is projected at 45 minutes. The CNC is almost 2.27 hours, and you can see all of those time estimations for this particular job. This tool in ActionFlow is such a great tool, I believe, for being able to add visibility into what's going on in the shop, how busy is the shop, where are we projecting a problem with jobs. Sometimes some shops, your constraint may bounce back and forth between the saw and the CNC and moves all over the place. If you will utilize these hourly definitions, you can gain a lot of insight into what's going on in your shop and be able to shine light on that up front so that you can be proactive with what you're doing with those things instead of just reacting to when things are overloaded. There's not a lot out there on these hourly definitions. Josiah, I think we ought to have somebody do a webinar specific to these, like Roderick would be a good one. I know he's done a bunch with that, because there's a lot to the hourly definitions and getting it set up. And I think he would be a good one for being able to do that because he knows so much about it, and he helped me do it and others, so I know that he can talk to it. But that would just be an idea for a future webinar. I think this is such a powerful tool for I just love this one. This one is great. I wanted to also show you a little bit of some of the reports that are available for the shop. This is that issues, category, and reason report that I talked about earlier. This is filtered according to by category. So fabrication is a category, and you start to see all of the issues that is going on over this time period. This was a report that was pulled for a month, and so you can see how many issues were there, how many jobs did this issue were affected by this issue that caused us to miss or push the install date. You can see that. You can put in notes and comments so that you can understand what went on as you're looking back in time. On this report, you have the comment section where you can fill that stuff out. This report is just a fantastic report. It also allows you to capture the cost of the revenue, or excuse me, of the material that had to be cut again. It allows you to capture all of that cost there, so you can see that as well as you're looking at it. This report and being able to track these issues, such a good and powerful tool for being able to improve the shop, work on issues, be able to define the issues instead of whatever was the biggest, latest, most emotional issue did we have. Now we have data behind the issues that we're dealing with. This is just a great report. Another report that I use a lot was the WIP. This is the one I talked about. This is what that partially fabricated status indicates, usually done at the end of the month. You can see what this report does. It lists your SKU classes out, gives you a total of the of inventory items, how many square feet, and the inventory cost of all of those WIP category items. This is what that report looks like. And you can find it in the report section. It's an inventory snapshot, and you can pull that. And again, it's always a snapshot report. It's an as of date, or it's an on date. On October 31st, this is what our WIP was. Very, very nice report. Another one of the reports that I think using these statuses and using clarity in that helps you with, I love the timelines reports categories. This report gives you lots of different things, not only for your shop, but you want to know how to forecast and be able to see and project when work's going to happen based on what you're doing today and quoting today. These timeline reports are just awesome. This particular one I just set up for a partially fab to fabricated. How long is it taking things to go through our shop over the month of October? This is in this particular thing, you can see here, it breaks it out by account. But in the month of October, there were 527 jobs done that went from partially fab to fabricated. The average job size was 54.28 square feet. The average days it took this shop to do that were 2 days to be able to walk that through all of their steps. And it also shows the average revenue associated with those jobs. Just a great tool to be able to monitor how fast are we doing this? Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? You want to know how long it takes the average job to go from a quoted to an accepted status, or from an accepted to an installed. Change the statuses and run this report. It is a great report and allows you so much insight and to be able to look forward based off of your averages. You can look at what I quote today, and if my average quote to install is 42 days, you can say, all right, in 42 days, I'm going to have about this much work to do. It's really a good report, and it utilizes these statuses and the status changes to be able to figure all of that information. So utilize those statuses, because they're tied to so many things on that back end, both in reporting and in your financials. All of these things are tied and linked together, and it's just great. ActionFlow is very, very good at pulling information on the back end and making it available to you. If you set it up right and you set it up in a way with those things in mind, you can derive very powerful and useful reports. And so these types of tools and techniques within ActionFlow is very good at adding clarity to what's going on. I just love it. I think it's very, very good at doing that, and I think it's very beneficial to the user. Those are the things that I kind of wanted to go over and discuss. Does anybody have any questions, any concerns, anything you'd like to ask or bring up?
Feel free to unmute yourself, put it in the chat.
All right, Josiah, I'll turn it back over to you.
Oh, can you repeat the name of the other report that you showed? And then Faith, contact your account manager and get
So-
that added.
The 3 reports I addressed are the issues, category, and reasons. The WIP report,
Which would be found under inventory snapshot, right?
yeah, the WIP one is the one that's outside of the normal area because it's an inventory specific report. It's found under the inventory section. There's a report section there, and that's where you'll find that one. But the other reports are in the regular reporting tab in ActionFlow.
Thanks for the questions. Anyone else?
Chad.
Yeah, Ruben.
Let's say that was great for me, Chad. Thank you. That was very helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Ruben. The job status timeline report in ActionFlow. So if you'll go to the report section, the drop down in reports, it's a job status, and then you'll find they have them categorized by administrative and those types of things. Find that report that shows the job status timelines, and then you within that report is where you select your beginning and ending status that you're wanting to track.
Yeah, and if it's not there, it's probably in your report configurations, or you can just also contact your account manager.
Yeah, if you're not seeing it, get with your account manager. It's a great tool. I love that one. Used it a lot.
Awesome. Well, there's no other final questions. Again, thank you to Chad. That was very helpful and hopefully gets us thinking about this part of your business and how it can be leveraged in ActionFlow. I will have this recording and slides out to you within the next couple of days, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.